Dear Black people, it's time for us to talk about the almighty scam. I mean credit scores. I promise to be somewhat polite about this. It's the best I can do. So much pressure has been put on us concerning credit scores, yet most of us have no idea what it is. A credit score is simply a numerical representation of how well you can borrow money and pay it back. And the range of scores can go from 300 to 850, with 850 being a perfect score. In addition, there's 3 credit bureaus that produce a credit score for you: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Each of them have their own way to calculate your credit score, and if we're going to be completely honest, the process is so secretive that you're going to have a hard time trying to recalculate the number. However, there are some items that can go into your credit scores regardless of the credit bureau. As you can see on the screen, 65% of your score is based on 2 items: the amounts that you owe and your payment history. The other 35% is split into 3 categories: your credit mix, the length of your credit history, and any new credit lines you have. Now, to be clear, when I say credit, I mean debt. Your payment history is the record of all the payments towards your debt. The key here is that less likely you miss your payments, the higher your credit score. The amounts owed category is the amount of debt you owe across all of your accounts. So one basic rule of thumb is never use more than 25% of your credit limit. So for example, if your credit card has a credit limit of 10,000, you would never carry a balance higher than 2,500. Larger debt amounts negatively affect your credit score. The length of your credit history is also important, as the longer you have a credit line open with a good credit history, the better your score will be. So your oldest credit card actually carries the most weight. A good idea is to use this credit card every month on small items, but pay off the balance. This will help to boost your credit score. The new credit category is specific to what lines of credit you will be opening. Think about if you're going to go finance a car, for example. New credit lines will more likely negatively impact your score because it reduces the average age of your debt. Newer debt is penalized more than older debt. Finally, the credit mix category refers to the different types of debt you have. A rule of thumb is that if you're building your credit for the first time, 5 to 7 lines of credit with a good history will positively impact your score. Be careful here though. These same lines of credit can also lead to financial hell. For those of you who are interested, there's a great book by Anthony Davenport called Your Score. Your Score is a great book that teaches you the ins and outs about credit scores and also credit reports, which we'll talk about now. Many people know about credit scores, but very few have actually ever reviewed their credit report. You see, a credit report is a statement of information about your credit history. It includes everything over the last 7 years, and each bureau has their own report. The information on the report includes your personal information, your credit accounts, your collection items, your public records such as liens, foreclosures, and bankruptcies, and any hard or soft inquiries. A hard inquiry occurs when a lender with whom you're applying for credit reviews your credit report as part of the decision-making process. So think about when you buy a house or when you buy a car. A soft inquiry occurs when you check your own credit or when the lender pre-approves you for an offer. So think about the junk mail that you receive from credit card companies. In short, hard inquiries affect your credit score negatively. Here's an example of the first page of a credit report. Usually it'll include your credit score, and as you can see, it'll break down each credit line and you can see your payment history. So how do you access your credit report? There are 2 places you can go to get this. The first is freecreditreport.com. You can request all 3 reports here for free, at least annually. My advice is to request 1 bureau report every 4 months. This way you can spread out the review of your credit reports throughout the year. So for example, in the past, I've requested Experian in January, TransUnion in May, and Equifax in September of each year. As you can tell by the name, it's free to access these reports. The other option is myfico.com. This site provides you the same reports from each bureau for a fee. However, it also gives you credit scores that are closest to the average scores that professionals use. One of the most common scores that you see are FICO 8 scores. This was introduced in 2009 and subsequently is the 8th version of the FICO score. This is the score that people are advertising on TV. However, more often than not, that is not the FICO score that your lender uses. Your lender may use a FICO 5 score or even a FICO 3 depending on what you're trying to buy. You see, these scores tend to be a little bit more harsh against the borrower being you. This is why when you go buy a car, for example, You think your credit score is 750, but the lender tells you a different lower number. It's usually because they're using a different FICO score. Another note, lenders don't have to use one bureau over another. In fact, some may take an average of the bureau scores, a weighted average. Some may weigh one more than the other. It's all a bunch of things that they can come up with to determine your score. The key here is that whatever number you think your credit score is may not be the number that they use. So here are some tips for boosting your credit score. First, make sure you pay all your bills on time. This is self-explanatory. Second is to pay off your debt. You will initially take a credit score hit when you pay off your debt. Yes, as dumb as this sounds, you take a credit score drop when you pay off your debt. However, over the long run, this will improve your score. Keep your balances low and don't apply for any new lines of credit if you don't need them. Dispute any inaccuracies on your credit reports and keep your oldest credit cards open. Now I have your attention. Forget the slides. I want you guys to see me when I say this. A credit score is an absolute scam. 100% scam. Think about it. Why are you putting so much effort on a credit score? It's because it allows you to buy things that you normally would not be able to buy. Now ask yourself the question, why the hell are you buying things you can't afford? I get it. You may need it to buy a house. That's the only thing that I think I would be able to stomach. But everything else you should be able to buy with cash because you can save your money, you can budget, and you can do what you're supposed to do. You see, the only reason you use your credit score is because you're impatient. That's right. It's behavior. You're impatient. That's why you're buying something that you can't afford so quickly instead of saving and taking your time. And I'm not talking to the poverty-stricken people here, right? I'm talking to people with good jobs, college degrees, who just, like, these people are okay. Yet they put so much effort on a credit score. So let me give you some advice. Only put things on your credit card that you have the cash to pay for the next day. So if you budget a certain amount of cash for gas, for example, use your credit card on the gas. Don't go over budget and pay for it the next day. That maintains your ability to show that you can use credit, but it also makes sure that you're not giving these fools a bunch of interest that they don't need. How do I know this? Because I live debt free and my credit score is still above 800, and it's been that way for a pretty long time. I'm telling you it works. Credit scores are an absolute scam. Use them to your advantage, but do not, under any circumstances, give them so much weight that it starts to mind boggle you like you can't necessarily do anything with your money. Okay? Now let's end the presentation. So I'll leave you with a quote that I found on Credit. Don't go into debt to build up your credit score. The FICO score is not, and I mean it is not, a measure of winning financially. Your net worth is, because a part of all that you earn is yours to keep.